start recording this first of our 3 induction sessions on our virtual induction day, our very first virtual induction day. I want to start with a quick set of introductions. We hope that this will last up to about 30 minutes. And the aim of it really is just to give you the chance to ask your questions to people who are in charge of the sixth form in the school, but also those who are currently in the sixth form themselves, just ending their first year in the sixth form. So I'm Barry Hayton. I'm the head of sixth form here at the school, and we will often refer to me as the grandfather of the school. But I've been here for over 30 years, man and boy in the school, and for the last sort of 15 years or so as head of sixth form. So have a lot of experience doing this kind of job. Miss Thompson? Or sorry, I've muted you all. Can you just unmute yourself?
There we go, our first technical error. So yes, I'm Miss Thompson. I'm the assistant head of sixth form. So I basically do everything that Mr. Hayton tells me. So I oversee, I oversee your progress and basically look after you like a learning manager. So you'll see me in assemblies when we finally have them all together, and around Highlands where you'll all be based. But I'm also head of psychology as well. So I might be teaching lots of you.
Miss Arthur.
Hiya, I'm Miss Arthur. I'm the Pastoral Support Coordinator for years 12 and 13. So I do everything that Mr. Hayton and Miss Thompson tell me to do. And I'm the first point of call for your parents if they've got any worries or concerns about you and how you're settling in and moving forward. I'm often your first point of call as well if you've got any social issues at school. I look after things like behaviour, things like the bursary, and generally supporting if you've got any emotional concerns, helping out with referrals to the school counsellor and other agencies, and general things like that.
Lovely, thank you. Miss Watson.
My name's Miss Watson, and I'm the sixth form administrator, and I just basically help Mr. Hayton, Miss Thompson and Miss Arthur. Main part of my duty though is to check on attendance and punctuality for lessons and things. So you often find me running around the school looking for lost students or missing students.
Lovely, thank you. So we're pleased that we've got a number of year 12 pupils here. I'm going to ask them now to invite themselves to introduce themselves and tell you a bit about the subjects that they currently study. So Ellie, start us off.
Hi, I'm Ellie, and I do physics, maths, chemistry, and politics.
Could you also say, by the way, whether you were existing at Westcliff before or whether you've joined us fresh, so that we've got an idea of who to ask what? Yeah.
Yep, so I've been here since year 7. So
okay, lovely.
Stayed on.
Millie.
My name's Millie. I study English literature, economics and geography, and I joined the sixth form from a different school.
Fantastic. Erin.
Hi, I'm Erin. I'm an internal, so I've been here for the full 5 years, and I do English Lit, History, RS and Maths.
Super. Isabella.
I'm Isabella. I've been at Westcliff since I was in year 7, and I do French, Spanish and history.
Fantastic. Liam.
I'm Liam. I do further maths, physics and computer science, and I'm clearly an external.
Okay. Amelia.
My name's Amelia. I take biology, chemistry and maths, and I joined the school in year 7.
So thanks to all our students who've come to join us today. I'm sure you've all remembered everything that they said about which subjects they're doing, etc., etc. But you know, seriously, if you've forgotten, don't worry about it. You can ask some general questions. I'm sure they'll be able to help. Okay, so what I would like to do is just start with a series of kind of like, you know, the students in the hot seat. Last year, 12 months ago, you'd finished your last day in year 11, you were starting the summer holidays and this sort of stuff. You know, a little bit about how they spent their summer, how they got ready for school in the September, I'm going to risk saying anyone can start by muting yourself. Just to mute yourself and just speak. Doesn't matter who starts. That's obviously a risk.
So obviously I do history, French and Spanish. So with history, I just picked a book that kind of did the whole of Russia, because that's what you start year 12 with. So it was Robert Service's A Penguin's Guide to Modern Russian History. It was very useful, just kind of like getting to grips with all of it, because I didn't really do a lot of Russian history. Like, we did the Cold War, but it didn't really focus on Russia as a whole. And then with French and Spanish, I just like read the news in both of those languages and like watched some shows on Netflix. So nothing too big, but just simple things.
Anybody else?
Go on, sorry. Go on, Millie.
Sorry, I was just going to say, so for English, we were given a reading list. So I made sure I'd read the first 2 like texts that we study. And then also, this is just a note for English per se, there's a lot of like wider reading that you have to do, like around the text that you're studying. So I had read a couple of other books for that. And then for geography, the first topic that we do is quite similar to the one we did at GCSE. So just made sure like I understood the basics, but yeah, nothing too strenuous really, just going over the book was the main thing.
Fantastic. Anybody else?
So for biology, when we had the taster session, they recommended a couple of like extension textbooks. So I bought those, but I bought them on Amazon that they'd already been used. So I got them like a lot cheaper. And I looked through those over the summer, but I didn't really do that much because a lot of the content that you do in biology, chemistry and maths is either touching on what you did at GCSE or it's just new stuff. So it's better to just sort of go in there ready to learn.
If I just, sorry, before you start, I'm going to say that to anyone who's listening, if anything that anyone's saying is prompting you to say, ooh, there's a question there that I really would like to ask, please use the chat room. We can see the chat as it's coming along there, and we'll deal with it as it happens, rather than trying to deal with all questions at the end, and sometimes they're sort of several minutes after the conversation was being had, sort of thing. So please do use the chat if anything people have said have prompted a question. Ellie.
So for some of my subjects, so physics, they set a booklet full of like A-level maths that you need to know for physics. So I looked over that. And apart from that, there's a website called Seneca, which I use quite a lot. And it's quite good for an overview of the subjects if you just sort of flick through the pages. So I use that to sort of get to grips on some of the stuff we'd be doing at the start of next year. Okay.
Now, all of you, I hope, who are listening, are aware of our next steps pages. They've been on the website all summer, or all through the last few weeks of lockdown and so on, and I hope you've all seen them. But I hope that many of you have woken to find that our virtual open day is now also open. So there will be a tab in our website called Induction, and in there you will find not only a message from the head, but also videos from each of the individual subjects, taking you through the things they might have said on induction day, but also importantly, anything that they've talked about that a department said us some work over the holiday, all of that work is also in that section of the website. Okay, so all the work that would have been set by staff on induction day is able for you just to download and to print. Now, lots of subjects will just say general reading. Somebody said, you know, general reading is fine. You know, here's few things you might want to have a look at. They're on our next steps pages. That's absolutely fine. But some subjects have asked you to do specific tasks with specific resources, and they are all in that induction section of the website. So do check it out and make sure, especially if you do those subjects, that you've paid attention to that, because we'll be looking for those in the first lessons coming back. Well, could I ask the second question, which is that, you know, what are the essentials that someone needs to have when they arrive on their first day for their sixth form at Westcliff? What do you think are the essentials to have in your bag when you arrive? Okay, Erin's pointing to a hole punch. Now that wouldn't have been number one on my list, but nonetheless, clearly experience has shown. Anybody else? Unmute.
Can I just butt in and say a hole punch and a stapler are probably the two things that I'm asked the most if students can borrow. And when we go back, we're not going to be allowed to share equipment. So it's really important that you are aware of that.
Wow.
I'd say the biggest difference from lower school to sixth form is that you don't have exercise books. So you need to make sure you have lots of paper, lined paper, squared paper if you're doing maths, if you prefer to write on that, graph paper if you want to have it on you. It's just a lot of stuff. So folders and then lots of hole punched paper.
Yeah, I would say quite important, because you don't have exercise books, is a day folder. So you have different folders for each of your subjects, but have a folder that you take in every day with just the current work. Otherwise you're going to be carrying everything that you've done all year and it's going to get too heavy and too much to hold.
Any other essentials anyone said?
Can I just add to
obviously,
that as well? Sorry,
pencil case.
Can I just mention as well, even though if you don't like working on paper, the departments can issue you a book, an exercise book, if you'd rather work in those. I know that some of our students prefer that rather than having lots of folders. So we can offer you that as well if you prefer working like that.
So what about things like highlighter pens or, you know, different coloured biros, those sorts of things? How much, and, you know, is one pen enough?
With me, I do, from one thing that Ellie was saying, a big difference is that when you get to A-level for our school system, you always have 2 teachers for each subject. And sometimes you end up like categorize what you're working on with each teacher and things like that. So color coding is a really good idea, just so you know that you're not mixing topics up and things like that. So I found that really useful. I went out and bought myself loads of like colored pens and highlighters. So all of one topic, all of that kind of stuff. Found that really helpful.
I would also say in our school we do a lot of peer and self-assessment, so you're going to need a purple and a green pen for definite, and buy more than one because we do a lot of it, so you'll run out.
Now here's some news even the Year 12s don't know, which is that in the first few weeks of the new term, we're obviously having to follow some guidelines about how to operate safely with you all back together again. So we are pausing peer assessment and self-assessment. Well, peer assessment, yes, certainly sharing work. We're pausing that for a short time, which means the green pens and the purple pens may not be in use straight away, but as soon as we can, we'll be back doing that. So that advice is still useful. Also, stop press, we're not going to be able to give you lockers in September. Again, because of the difficulty of being too close together and spreading the pandemic and so on. So, so that is going to be interesting in terms of how you organize these many folders that you've been told that you may have to have. And the idea of a day folder probably is a very good one, to have big folders that you're going to keep your subjects notes in the longer term, and will be asked for occasionally to check by certain departments and so on. But a day folder that you only bring in knowing that actually you only need that same thing for that particular day. We are trying to reduce the number of big, thick, heavy textbooks that we issue to save the amount of carrying stuff around. But that's something to keep in mind. Okay, I'm conscious of the time. One more for the students, and then we'll talk more general questions. Miss Thompson, Miss Watson's got a few more general questions. So, handy tips, things that if you knew this before you started doing your subject, before you started studying, you would have loved to have known, but you found out through painful experience. Anything that comes to mind?
I would say like, oh sorry, Owen.
No,
yeah,
go on.
I would say like, don't struggle in silence. If you're struggling with something, let the teacher know, because the staff at our school are like really, really helpful, and they all really care about our learning. So just most teachers will just respond to an email or at the end of the lesson. Like, don't get really worked up about work that you don't understand, because they're always willing to lend their time to help you through it.
Very good advice. Any other handy tips or hints that anyone can think of that they want? Liam, you've been very quiet. What about a young man sitting in the audience here? You know, what is he going to expect when he arrives at Westcliff?
It's a bit different because I came from a mixed comprehensive school. So suddenly going from like about 50-50 to like 70-30, it's a bit weird, but like, it's not too different. It's not like majorly like a shock to the system. Like all I'd say is like put yourself out there, like try and like socialise from my old school, and they're not the friends that I have now. I've made new friends because I put myself out there, and like quite important to do if you're going to come here.
Fantastic, that's great. You're breaking up a bit, but I think I got the message, which is that whatever your gender, frankly, you know, being brave and what Liam says, put yourself out there, which is put your name forward for positions of responsibility, which are available in the first half term, senior team, prefectships, these sorts of things. Get involved in what will be a virtual charity week, but charity week activities wherever possible along the way is also a good idea. So thanks for that. Now I've got a couple of questions in the chat room. So Phoebe's asked, what other changes will there be in school life due to the new COVID guidelines? We're trying to do everything we can to keep life as normal as possible, but we have changed the structure of the school day. So there won't be a morning registration in September. You'll get registered in your first lesson to save the movement around the school. There'll be a slightly different finish time for different students, so that we're not all leaving school at the same time. And because of the nature of situation in the canteen at lunchtime, there will be a more broken down lunchtime where you have sort of periods of time to go and grab stuff. Hopefully we're going to be grabbing and going a lot from the canteen rather than necessarily sitting down and spending a lot of time in there. And there will be form time in the lunchtime section of the day, as opposed to in the morning where we used to have it. So all those students who have experienced normal life will also find that things are slightly different. The other thing that potentially is going to be different is that we have been proud to have forms which have been a mixture of both year 12 and year 13. And under the new guidelines, we're not allowed to do that anymore. So whereas you will hopefully by the end of the year be going back to normal, in the first instance, we will be keeping year 12 members of each form separate from year 13 members of each form, and will be if you like, your tutor will be with you every other week. So you'll have your tutor if you're in year 12 for 1 week, and then you'll have another tutor, then another tutor again the following week, so that we are keeping bubbles of 12 and 13 separate. So you will be in a form, you will have a designated form tutor, just that you only see them once a fortnight. And your form will be paired with another form, and you will swap around 12, 13 week on week on week. So that's just all like the highlights, but you know, those apart, the day will be 5 periods. There will be 5 lessons in a day. There will be the usual kind of like structure of lessons and so on. So we're trying to keep that disruption to a minimum. So what time do we start and leave school, and how long are breaks and lunches? 8:35 start, 3:30 finish. Although I've just said that for some, you will be in a group of pupils who will have a set timetable. The year 13 will be in another group. We'll have a slightly different timetable during the course of the day to keep you separate. But you'll finish around about 3:30. It might be 3:25. Would be 3:35, so around that sort of thing. But we will aim to stagger people leaving. But 3:30 is our designated finishing point. Lunchtime is again going to be staggered. We're going to start lunchtime at 12 o'clock rather than 10 past 12. But again, it will start at a different time depending on which group that you're in. And lunchtime is about an hour. Okay, let me see what else is in the chat. Amelia says, if GCSE results are being sent by email, do they have to be printed out and brought to the school? And what happens if the email system crashes and they aren't sent in time? Doomsday scenario. Okay, so first of all, yes, please. If your school is sending your results by email, please can you print them and bring them in to the school? If for some reason that transference of information is not there at the time, we're going to give you a set time. I'm going to write to you later this week to give everyone a sort of time alphabetically in groups and so on, by which we'd like to see you on results day to confirm. But if you're not able to be there, then just give us a call and we'll reschedule. That's all right. It's not a major deal. We'll just move you around. Just let us know. We'll have people in the office who will be able to take your call on results day. Do not panic is the answer. How does EPQ run? Okay, which of you does EPQ?
I do.
Okay, right. So who would like? How does EPQ run?
So you're put in like a class, and you have a supervisor who you will discuss your ideas with, and they'll like help you along. But mostly it's independent research. You decide your question. You decide what what the final project is going to be. Because I know some people do an artifact, but many people just choose to do a 5,000-word essay. It's very good for developing independent research, which are highly valued at university. I would recommend it if you want to do a subject that you can't take here. Like, for example, I did mine on politics because of the way the option block worked, so I still got to pursue that interest for myself. Or I know some people take on like dentistry if they want to do that at university, but we don't offer it, so it's very good for that. Was there a second part to that question?
Yeah, it was. Is anyone doing it with 4 A levels?
I know Primero is.
Yeah, so would you recommend it to do it with 4 A levels?
I only do it with 3, but I know my friend
Ellie said she does it with 4. Sorry.
I actually would, I'd say, because the thing is, the way it's laid out on the timetable, it doesn't take up loads and loads of lesson slots, so you're not going to be missing loads of frees. And it is quite reassuring if you do want to drop your 4th A level, it's quite reassuring to know that you have that extra thing just to sort of make you stand out a bit, and also you can pursue anything you want, really.
Ms. Thompson.
Yeah, this just links into a question I know that we'd already had sent to us previously. So your A-level subjects, you have 9 hours a fortnight. We have a 2-week timetable, a week A and a week B. So for your A-levels, you'll have 9 timetabled lessons. And then for EPQ, you have 3 timetabled lessons. So when Ellie's talking about the fact that it fits quite well with 4, that's because you don't have as much contact time. But that means that obviously with your EPQ, you can be doing that in study support sessions as well. So you have those on your timetable. So yeah, because somebody had asked that question about how many lessons per week per subject you'll have. So obviously if you take 4 A levels, you'll have more lessons, but you'll also have study support on there as well. And also PSHE will be on your timetable, or enrichment, we're calling it this year.
Okay, so how will the private bus work? How do I get tickets? Does anyone come by that's what Transport Millie? So how does the whole consortium transport work?
So I get a Stevenson's bus, so I pay for my bus pass termly. So I think you have to but it depends, you might want to do it like daily. If you pay it daily, then you literally just get on and pay as you go, you can get a return. Or if you want to pay termly, you have to get in contact with the bus company, but they haven't actually said anything about the start of the autumn term yet, because I think they're working out ways to sort of pick up differently. So at the minute, I think it's just a waiting game, but make sure you get in contact, tell them that you're going to be using their service, and yeah, but I think we are just waiting at the minute for them to sort out their pick up and drop off.
If I could just jump in there, there are lots of different bus companies servicing different areas of the county and out into East London. So if anybody wants to get in touch with me, I've got a full list, so I can give you the contact details for your area. So I'll put my email address in the chat, and if you want to contact me directly, I can point you in the right direction.
Super, thank you. And I think, as Millie said, the bus companies are working out how to operate within the restrictions that are given to them during that time. So please be patient. We should have more information about that on results day, and we will obviously publicize that via our website as soon as we get information from the different bus companies along the way. So that's buses.
We just skipped a question there, Mr. Hayton. There was one before the EPQ about extracurricular activities, and will they still take place?
Okay, so extracurricular activities will take place to an extent in the first term, but you'll understand that there will be restrictions and reductions in the time that we have to be able to carry them out. You know, if you're a musician, I'm sure that Miss Daniels will still want to continue to keep music going in the school, and there will be organisation for that sort of thing. However, as I said earlier, our lunchtime is not going to be the 1 hour period that we used to have before. And we used to do a lot of our extracurricular activities. It's going to be broken up and have form time in the middle of it and so on. So it will be restricted in terms of what we can do. Normal service will be resumed, we hope, as soon as possible. But in the first few weeks, you will find that there's probably less than we would normally have. Okay, so let me have a quick look at the rest of these questions. I heard there was a coffee hut. Would this still be open despite COVID guidelines? The answer is yes. Those who are already here will know that we share our coffee hut at certain times of the day with lower members of the school below sixth form, and also sometimes with the boys' school. But so from September, it will only be able to be used by staff and sixth form pupils at Westcliff High School for Girls only. They're smiling away, saying hurrah, hurrah, hurrah. So it will be open, but the number of people who can use it will be slightly reduced. That's
somebody
good.
Also, sorry, Mr. Hayton, somebody also asked previously about, will the coffee hut be taking cash, or will it all be electronic on thumbs?
Well, if it is still as it was, and I've heard nothing to say it's not, the canteen will only take thumbs, but the coffee shop has always taken cash as well.
Okay, thank you.
I haven't heard that that's going to change in the new system. If we took a subject we don't want to do anymore, when can we drop it? So what we'd like you to do is to come on results day. You'll have a form, whether you're here already or whether you are coming from a different school. You have a form pre-printed with the subjects that we had for you when we stopped making changes during lockdown. And then if you want to change that, then you talk to one of us on results day and we'll make that happen at that particular point. Next question. Okay, is there going to be some kind of one-way system through corridors in school? Yes, at the moment, if pupils have been in school, they will know that we've had a one-way system, which is pretty much all over the school. We are taking those arrows away from September, but we're keeping certain kind of one-ways at key exit and entrance points in the school. Okay, so as you walk around the corridors, we will not be, because it was confusing and it was quite difficult to get to certain places using the arrows that were currently there. So we're going to try and take those away, but there will be still some one-way systems at certain entrance and exit points to make sure that at the busy times that we are able to social distance. Does the school offer productions and netball team? Again, I'm sure Mrs. Wickham will want to do sporting activities. I know that they're obviously restricted at the moment as to what they can do regarding sport, but I think if it's outside, I would imagine that she would still want to continue with extracurricular sport like netball and so on. But whether competitions will still take place, again, we don't know till September what that situation is going to be. How are free periods structured? Are we given work to do, or can we do our own revision? Pupils.
Oh, sorry, go on, Erin.
So with our kind of like that sort of system, we aren't set anything specifically, but we have a study period system as well. So on the periods that you don't have a lesson, you'll either have a free where you can basically do whatever you like. You can study, you can go to coffee hut, you can whatever, or you have a study session where you go into one of the like sixth form study rooms, and you can do whatever work you like. So it's almost like an extension of the library for the sixth formers for an hour, and yeah, they're actually really, really useful.
Whatever you like, but supervised. So in other words, it's quiet study. Yeah. So you have a supervised study period. I think there's 4 of them over the fortnight, and the rest of the time you can decide what to do in your what Dr. Emma likes to call study periods. But if you choose to have a coffee and have a chat with your friends, that's also okay. If you're on top of your work, that's not a problem. Okay. How big are classes in general, and are we grouped by ability in our classes? Pupils.
So it depends on the subject. Obviously, if you've got a really popular subject, then the classes are going to be a bit bigger. Although I don't know how that will work under COVID guidelines.
Yeah, I mean, it won't limit the size of the classes because you're in a bubble. You can have as many people in the classroom as you want.
Okay, so say, for example, maths, they've got quite busy classes because it's one of the most popular subjects. But you'll get other classes where you'll only have like 10 people in it, maybe 15. So I know physics is like that because I take that. Not many people take it. But yeah, it just depends on the subject, really.
And obviously some subjects you will only have sort of 6 or 7, depending on its popularity and so on. So on that. So that's size of classes. And the second part of that question was, are we grouped by ability in our classes? No, they're shaking their head. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, it's entirely about option blocks. It's about what fits into your timetable. And so that's how you're grouped.
Mr. Hayton, there's a question there which I think is for Millie and Liam about joining the school from a different school, how they adapted to new school life, and how do they find mixing with a new group of people?
Do you want me to go first? So I was the only person that came from my old school, so I didn't know anybody, and I was a bit concerned because obviously it was an all-girls school, so I thought people might already have like their groups of friends. There's something about West Skip is that everybody is so welcoming, and like I made friends instantly on the first day. Everyone was so welcoming. Everybody spoke to you, like regardless of you were internal or external. Like it was really easy to sort of like make friends. Everyone was really like sociable, and about the environment, I think was it. It's a lot more competitive than my old school, but I think that's a good thing. Definitely makes you work a lot harder, and yeah, everyone is just genuinely really friendly and welcoming. So yeah.
Liam?
Yeah,
What you said about being a young man is
pretty much the same, really. It's just if you're going to come in, like you probably will not. If you come with people from your school, like I did, the likelihood is you probably won't stay with them. Like I'm still friends with the people I came from, but my core group of friends is not the people I join with. It's people I've made friends here. It's like talk to people in your tutor classes, even people in your frees, because then you socialize and you get like a better, like you just get to meet more people and like find people that like share interests with you as well, which is like really important.
great. Now let's have a few more of these questions. Would we have assemblies? Guys, what are assemblies like at Westcliff? The answer is fantastic. Well done. No, assemblies though will not happen in the way we're used to them. But don't worry, Dr. Heyman will be recording his assemblies, and we will be seeing them, but in smaller gatherings moving forward. Yes, so will we have assemblies? Yes, but not the same as we would have before. How does it work if you take a subject in year 12, but you end up wanting to drop it during the year? Anyone drop a subject during the year? Any one of you drop a subject during the year? Okay,
I
so
didn't drop on myself, but I know people that did. So
yeah.
From what I understand, you have a form and you have to speak to your subject teacher, your form tutor, and I think one of Mr. Hayton or Miss Arthur.
Yeah, perfect. That's the correct answer. So it's very easy. You know, we would discuss whether it's the right thing for you to do moving forward, and if we're happy, your parents are happy, then we just get a form. Are we allowed our phones out during breaks and lunch times? Definitely not. No, that's the wrong answer. Yes, of course. So while we, as you know, have a building called Highlands, which is, you know, there's not many schools in the area that can have this separate from the rest of the whole school. So while you're in Highlands and in the area behind Highlands, the green area behind Highlands, which is called the Orchard, you know, you can use your phones whenever you like. While you're in the main school, the rules for you are the same as everybody else, which is your phone should be turned off or in your bags, and certainly in lessons. So if you use your phone to tell the time, I would suggest you get a watch or something sort of thing, because people often get told off because they're taking their phone out in the middle of lessons to when staff think that they're actually using their phone. So, but yeah, so keep it out of sight in the main school, but over in Highlands, and certainly in your breaks and lunch times, that is not a problem.
I'd just add as well, a lot of times when people get caught out, if you like, using their phone in the main building, they say they're checking their timetable too. And I know you might want to do that, but it's important to have a paper copy of your timetable as well, especially in the early days when you're still getting used to it. Okay, with the uniform, do you have to purchase a skirt from the uniform website, or can you buy your own? We'd like you to purchase from the school website, please. You should have received a communication from us about uniform. Uniform can be bought up to the 16th of August, and it'll be available on results day. If it's bought on results day or afterwards, then you'll get a phone call to say it's ready and you come and collect by appointment along the way. But the main things like blazer, skirt, trousers for boys, we want them to be uniform, so purchase them from the school website, please. Let me see. I know we're running over, but there's lots more questions. Are there any means of getting class plans, contents before lessons? Someone's put on the chat something about Edomodo, never heard of it, sort of thing, but we do have something called Google Classroom here, and most subjects have a Google Classroom, and what you'll find is that staff will share things via Google Classroom, not always before the lesson if they don't want you to see it before the lesson, but resources will be shared via that if necessary. So that's how we would do that.
So I was just going to say on that subject, just for one subject, I do history, and the school history department has an entire website, and it has loads and loads of content on there. It's got links to podcasts, it's got content summaries, loads and loads of different things. So if you're thinking of doing history next year, just find it, have a look at it. It's got loads of content on there that you can look things up on.
Lovely, thanks very much. Emma, your question I think we'll deal with outside the meeting. Miss Arthur's put her email on this chat. If you can just note that down, if you can just email that question to Miss Arthur, she and we can talk about your transition outside of the meeting. What are the roles of prefects, head girl? How do you balance this role with schoolwork?
I think we're all uniquely qualified.
Go for it.
Well, all of the Year 12s, I think apart from Amelia on this team, are part of the senior team. So obviously Liam's head boy, he's on here. He wants to speak up. But I think that there's not really, it doesn't take too much time. Obviously it's a commitment, but I wouldn't worry about it interfering with your studies, things like that, because everything you do is sort of part of your free time. So in that sort of way, it's just sort of getting involved in different things like Charity Week for us next year. So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, there'll be busy times, obviously, for senior team. I would say prefects, it's more about putting they may have to give up half an hour of their day in lunchtime or before school. And that is obviously a commitment that they have to have all the time. You've got to build it into your day. There'll be things like parents' evenings and open evenings, things like that, which you'll be committed to give evenings to. But again, if you put those in your diary and you plan around them, should not be a huge imposition. Okay. If we're not able to come to school on results day, would it be possible if we can email our results? Yes, that is possible. Although eventually we will need your results on paper, if you like. Eventually we will need, if you can send us your results by email, eventually we will need hard copies of those in due course. If you order a uniform on results day, will be ready for the start of the school year. Yes, it will. It should be ready the following week. How do you receive RTC results this year? Are they sent to our school by email? No, we're going face-to-face results, and Elia will send a letter out to all offer holders later this week to tell you how it's going to work. Was there a sizing issue with skirts? Obviously, trying things on at the moment is quite difficult, but if you try it on and it doesn't fit, you just bring it back and we'll give you the new size. Simple as that. How do you apply to be a prefect or part of the senior team? The answer is there's a form to fill in. There's usually a small little bit about yourself, and then you get someone, usually two people, to nominate you to say they think you'd make a good prefect or member of the senior team. How do you start the process of applying to be a prefect or head girl? The process is lengthy for the position of head boy and head girl, as they will tell you, but it starts with a form, and then everyone who is put their name forward will then have to stand up in front of the year group and do a little talk about how they feel they're suited to this role, the hustings as we call it, and then from that there's a vote. All these things are democratic. The year 12 and staff vote, and those with the highest number of votes are elected. Are there rules on makeup and jewellery the same as lower school? Miss Thompson? Are the rules on makeup the same as lower school? And jewellery?
We still require makeup to be discreet. We don't want any major extremes of style. It should still be discreet, but you can wear more than you would do lower down the school. In terms of jewellery, Miss Arthur might need to help me out on this. Remember, we talked about the wording of this.
Yeah, so I think we agreed no kind of lip piercings, septum piercings, eyebrow piercings. A small nose stud is acceptable, and a couple of piercings in each ear, but the earrings themselves, again, have to be discreet. No great big, long dangly numbers or anything like that.
Yeah, because we've got to think about safety as well while you're in school. So yeah, we can't have things tucked behind your hair and hiding. You will be caught. So yeah, it's got to be discreet. We
said that nail varnish is allowed, but that again has to be discreet and kind of a neutrally kind of colour, no bright reds or blacks or anything like that.
Yeah.
And hair, somebody asked about hair.
Rules on hair. No extreme styles, either extremely short or extremely long. And no extreme colours, so no pinks or blues, please, or bright reds or anything. It's really difficult. We've had the natural hair policy. I think we all agree, you know, highlights are okay.
But is it a natural colour? We don't want you coming to school looking like a Smurf. Okay, so it has to be a natural hair colour.
And there are a few Smurfs at the moment, aren't there?
There are, yeah.
There are. So lockdown has encouraged people to experiment. So if you are one of those that have been experimenting, no more Smurfs. And I think one more question I wanted to. I think I've mentioned extracurricular activities. I want to mention this last question, which is, will our teachers go easy on us in September since we haven't attended school for so long?
No.
Well, that's not.
We'll work you harder to make you catch up.
No, in all seriousness, we are very much aware, you know, and you will hear politicians talk about catch-up curriculums and things like this sort of thing. We are very much aware that these last 4 or 5 months have been difficult for lots of people, sort of thing. So there will be the usual kind of like feeling our way and seeing what people know and trying to get the initial thing. But you know, we are very much aware that we have a curriculum to get through in a certain amount of time. So if they are easy, they will be easy for a short time, and then they will start progressing you into the normal speed of things. Now, Miss Watson, is there anything from the list of questions that were sent ahead that we haven't touched on yet? I'm looking down. Toilet facilities. What are they, and are we allowed to use? When are we allowed to use them? There are toilets in Highlands and across the school. Our policy is going to be that obviously you can still use these toilets, but you need to be sensible about social distancing. You know, if there's people in there, that you should not be going in there if you can't be a meter or so apart from the person next to you, as it were, sort of thing. So wait outside to use them. The same for the toilets in the main building. There are some toilets which are just for staff use, but there are toilets in the basement, on the ground floor of the West Wing, in the East Wing, and in Highlands, and in the canteen. So the toilets across school, and you can use them whenever, effectively.
I think the general guidance is we wouldn't expect you to be going to the toilet during lesson time, though.
Mhm.
Yeah. Obviously, we're trying to limit movement around the schools, so so try to keep your use of them outside of lesson time. Are there any rules on style or color of your school bag? No, there are not. The canteen pays electronically, and those who are new will get their logins to the canteen on the first day, all being well. Do you stay with the same tutor, year 12 and 13? Yes, you do. And we're trying to do that with the current year 12. Obviously, even though we're going to be in bubbles, you will still have the same tutor. It's just that you will only see them every 2 weeks at the moment. But outside of that form time, you can still contact them. Have I missed any other questions that are on that list?
Don't think
How does they work? We can talk about, I said, the letter coming very shortly about results days and how they're going to work.
Just there's a question here that's come about face masks, wearing masks. I think at the moment we've said if you wish to wear a mask, you can, and walking around the school, when you're coming into school, you need to wear a mask, obviously if you're coming on public transport. But because you're in a bubble, I think the guideline is that you don't have to wear them in school unless your teacher may ask you to put a mask on. So you need to have one with you, and you are free to wear that if you wish, but the teacher may also ask you to put on your mask.
Okay, I'm conscious that this half-an-hour session has already lasted for almost an hour, so I'm going to draw to a close there. This doesn't mean to say that you can now stop asking questions. You can still ask questions, and we can still answer questions. You can contact us in all the letters I've been sending home. You can find my email address there. Miss Arthur's put her email address on the chat. This recording of this chat will be online in our induction section later on today, hopefully, so that you can refer back to it. So please do keep in touch. Thank you to my year 12s who've ably supported me today, and to the rest of the team. And all I can say is, you know, we hope to see you in August on results day. As I said, there'll be detailed arrangements about when and how you can confirm your place in the sixth form. But the most important thing is, do enjoy these next few weeks. If you can get away, get away. And if not, then enjoy your feet up with a few books that you might want to read ahead of starting A-level in September. So goodbye to all of us, from all of us to all of you, and thank you very much for coming today. Bye-bye now.